All right, welcome back. It is Tuesday night, and that means another Tuesday night Swiss at the Boylston Chess Club. This is actually an interesting, quite interesting week because my checker standings last week. I was scheduled to play Andrew Barber, who I've played twice before, and won both games. So actually, I had to this morning I had prepped against him based on like our past two games, like the way he plays, and also his game last week. Uh, and so when I get to the venue, he's not there, and so I start my clock and I wait a bit, and like 20 minutes pass, and he comes in and resigns. Because actually he had someone to be at 8:30 and he couldn't play the game, but he like completely forgot to inform the TD and stuff. Um, and so yeah, so I have like a standard win against him for that, even though we played no game. Um, but it was better than a forfeit for him because a forfeit means you get fined. So a standard classical loss is happened instead, which I think means he loses rating. But I mean, rating or fine, you might as well just take the rating hit. Doesn't matter in the long run. But yeah, so he just leaves like after that, and so I'm just like sitting there like whatever. Maybe I got a game, maybe not. Um, and so this guy Demetrius, his opponent, also doesn't show up. Yuan Shi doesn't show up for his game either. And so the TD just comes like, you guys can play a side game if you want. And so we agreed to raid a side game. We draw pawns. I got the black pieces, and so this is our game. Me versus Demetrius. Um, and here's how it goes. So we play e4. We have a caro, an advanced caro, a c5, and c4. So this is actually the first time that I have seen c4 over the board. I've studied it before, but it's been so long that I don't remember the lines. Uh, which is a real shame. We can kind of look at the master database here. The actual line is CD. Um, I don't know why I didn't just take. I was trying to remember the line that I know, and I'm pretty sure the line I know uh, is C takes knight f3, bishop g4, CD. Like this. No, I thought this is I think this is the line, but I don't remember at all. Over the board. So I played this instead, which I don't think is correct. I think it's playable. I think it's a little better for white. But whatever. I mean, he takes the D pawn, which I don't think you do. I think you just have to take the C pawn. Or take the C pawn. I think you have to take the D pawn because if you take it here instead, and then here, I mean, either way, I don't know. No matter what you take, I don't think you can take it all. I think you just have to like go here, and then maybe like if you go here, and then takes E6. I've seen this structure before. Uh, and we probably go like this, and bishop, and it's whatever. Everything's the same here. But I mean, we kind of like don't go into straight nonsense very quickly, but I'm pretty sure taking the c pawn first is kind of bad because of e6, and we just had like an IQP position. But like my natural development is just very much getting pieces ready to advance the isolated pawn, um, and so I thought this was all natural. I was actually torn between taking here and going bishop g4, but I thought bishop g4, well, it didn't feel right. Um, I thought there was like just like knight here, and the pawn you can't really defend, or you can push it. Um, I don't know. I didn't really like bishop g4 in the long run, so I just took. And then went bishop e6 instead. I don't think, but I was kind of worried about e6. Um, at any point, just kind of like damaging the structure. It would un-isolate the pawn, but then they're like in the hanging pawn structure, I guess. Um, so I thought bishop e6, just very simple, defend the pawn, prepare in advance if possible. In a lot of the caro structures, you want the knight in f5, which also prepares in advance of the pawn. And so like from here, I already knew my plan was just get d4 to be playable, and the game will just answer itself. Like I'll figure it out if I can get the pawn to d4. The game will just solve itself. Bishop b5, knight g7. It's funny that Anderson here doesn't put the g here because he can't put the other knight back there. So there's only one knight that can go to e7. But that's funny algebra. Castles. I was maybe eyeing d4 now, but I thought d4 now is too fast. Because of 94, and there's no like tactics or anything. Like you just put the knight here and it's on a good square, and then it can go to like here. Because if like if I push here, the knight e6, knight d6 is really scary. And you can't really stop it after knight d4. So d4 was ruled out because of that. Castle instead, obviously out of the pin. Open up this again. Bishop g5, and so I realized here that my position is definitely fine. This is almost certainly um like a dead even position, like 0-0-0 probably. Black has the isolated pawn, more centralized pieces. White has active bishops and knights on nice squares. An advanced pawn that's a little bit loose. And so I'm just sitting here like this is like there's a lot of life that can come out of this position, but I had to figure out how to make it happen. So I went h6, and actually my opponent after the game told me that he thought h6 was kind of bad. And I don't really know why. I mean, I think it's preventing knight g because I was really worried about knight g5. As far back as here, actually, I thought knight g5 was gonna be like really annoying. Um, Even like just like obviously doesn't work here. Like just take. But right here, the knight is pinned. I just thought knight g5. It's kind of tough. I didn't really know what I was gonna do in this case. Like I guess I just castle. I mean, I guess the thing is, when you take, you're opening up a rook and a bishop staring into f7 or f2, and the queen can get in there quickly, and then I can get in. So I guess it's kind of scary, but I just didn't really know. But you have to, you just lose the. I mean, okay, I was looking at well, but the other issue I had was like after like you move the bishop, maybe the pawn can move something. After like the rook is here though, not right now. I think right now I can just go bishop f5. Um, and this is not hanging or anything. And this when you take this defends itself. So I mean maybe it's bishop f5. I thought maybe I don't remember exactly why. I knew I just didn't like knight g5. And so I was pleased that he just castled and didn't play it because that got me time to get out of the pin, and now knight g5 doesn't work. Once again, I can just take the pawn. After here though, knight g5 works. Doesn't work because there's the bishop there. But yeah, so now knight g5 is impossible after h6. And so bishop h4. And so now my idea was this bishop is kind of loose. And so if I can get the knight here, I hit the bishop at the same time as I cover d4, which is very good. So this is like the golden square here for my knight. But it's pinned. So I was between queen b6 and queen c7. Queen c7, I thought the extra pressure on the e5 pawn kind of like forces a response. And so yeah, he actually goes for e1 here. I thought maybe he could take the knight. And you have to take with the knight here, otherwise you lose the pawn in the center. And then you have time to go like rook e1, defending. And again, the d4 move doesn't work yet. One, it hangs the pawn. And two, is 94. After something like bishop f5, maybe this knight is preventing it. But Yeah. I thought he could take maybe. And then after like rook e1, a6, I just take some space on the queen side and play on the green side against these two kind of loose pawns and hope and try to pressure on pieces, get the IQB going, something like that. But yeah, he doesn't take, so I get plenty of time to go a6, bishop a, and then bishop a4. I thought maybe again also he could take here. Um, but after takes, this kind of fixes the IQP position. And yeah, you can put pieces like on the C file, but I mean so can I, and I can easily like get around and prepare some advance of the A pawn to shatter the structure here. Um, but it also, I mean, it allows like bishop a4 though, and bishop a4 or knight a4. And knight a4, I was also kind of miffed at, because it, once again, releasing control of d6, that I was worried about for a while, opening up to some sort of attack. But obviously, right now it's impossible to get there. Um, yeah, I think that after this, like the knight of five. But yeah, so after bishop a4, my idea with d4 now is that knight a4 isn't possible, but the bishop's there instead. Um, but actually, knight e4 might have worked. We actually, he told me after the game that he didn't go knight e4, but he thought that hangs the pawn. And yeah, if you take, I take with check, and then I take back. But actually, you can just take that with knight f6, and and the queen is hit, and you can't move, and you can move the queen. The bishop takes, and I just get two pieces of the queen. Like, I lose the queen. Um, well, actually, he could have got knight e4, but I can't take the e pawn. I have to like go here to bishop e4, which I thought was good, covering d6 again, like we've established, hitting the rook sorry at tempo, which means I can then like cover d6 better with like knight f5 and stuff. Um, because now in this variation, if you go like let's just say like knight back in here, now I'm covering d6, and I've gotten the pawn advanced, and yeah, if the pawn gets too far, with the pieces traded off, it is very threatening. Um, but yeah, so he is in 94 because he thought that I could take the pawn. I can't because of knight f6, which is crazy, absolutely crazy move. Um, but going back gives me time to get out of 5. And he takes here. I think in this, I think he told me that he thought he could win the pawn by removing the defender, but actually, um, you can't take the pawn because you remove the defender of your own bishop, and so like if you take it this order, you lose the bishop. Um, and if you take the queen, no, you just take the queen. Like there's not an order to win this. Um, yeah, I'm just up a piece after this. Yeah, you can take here and target the weakness, but I mean I'm up a whole piece. I can trivially defend this. Um, and like I even like just like here, and I'm just bombarding. um, so yeah, so he realized that was late. And so just to kind of got rid of his bishop pair for no reason. Um, he didn't have to take the knight at all. Also, unisolated my pawn, which we'll see later, is very bad for him. Yeah, bishop d3, and I go rook f d8. Now the pawn is defended again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So takes, and we're defended. But the last knight f4, and I was kind of like when he played knight f4, I was pretty upset because you can't hold the bishop pair, and if you move the bishop, e6 comes and it's very threatening actually. Uh, And so I was just like, I can't believe I'm not getting anything out of that. It's like, struggling to find a way to get anything out of this. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, I might as well transform this position in a way where I get the dark square bishop, because that is this square. This square is a dark square. And so if I can get the pawn to d2, supported by the bishop can be like here or here. I like lock in the position, and be supported like this. So even without the bishop, if the bishop get here, I win because I'm just covering every square to promotion. But yeah, knight f4 comes at a great time. Um, I was wondering if I could just like instead of rook f8, just chuck the pawn. Also, the problem with this is that also b3 and a4. But I was wondering if like if not a3, if I could chuck the pawn, um, because of the delayed defense. But I think he has like rook e4, um, to defend everything, and I don't think there's a way to crack this. Maybe there's like queen here. Yeah, I think this works actually. Yeah, maybe you can't take that. So, but also, but you don't have to take the pawn. I think you just go here and here, and then you take. Now white has his own pawn. But yeah, no, I mean, it's very simple. Get the rook behind the passer, walk the passer, and this is how you play these kind of positions. So I was like, I'm not going to deviate from what I know. I know that rook behind the pawn equals good, but I didn't really see knight f4 coming. But got rid of the bishop, ready everything, and yeah, this is weak, but there's no way to target it really. Knight can't go here or here. Knight going here will take a long time, like 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to go there, and I can just put g4, g5 there in the meantime. So I didn't think this pawn was ever going to be a problem. Yes, this diagonal is problematic, but so as I went rook a8, cutting off queen b3 here, also hitting the pawn, which forced a response. Rook c1, hitting the bishop in response. I I thought though, I thought of a couple things here. One was that maybe I could go here, bishop b4, hitting this, and then c5. So like in this case, like rook e4, c5, here. But then after I thought b4 just works, and I can't like really defend this very well because now you can just take, and the bishop is pinned, and this is hanging, and this is bad. So bishop b4 I thought about for a while, but rook e4 is just really strong. Or maybe c5 isn't playable yet, and that's the actual issue. Um, maybe like you just like sneak past. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be 3 first. Preparing like a d3 followed by an attack on the f2 pawn, which forces a response, which then lets me get to d2. Now he's like, oh, okay, I'm cooking here. I'm getting information. Queen b3 comes in. I think queen b3 it was his first like actual mistake this game. I thought we were very even before this move. Um, very back and forth. No one was ever like clearly better until here. I was really confused by this move too. Because like, yeah, it targets the pawn, but like I have to take this. I don't really have a choice. I'm not losing the pawn. I'm not going here. Because if you take, I'm losing this. I can't defend everything, so I have to take. But taking is good, like very clearly good. Because one, I double the pawns, so I basically now sit here for free, which does bishop b4. And now there's if you bring the rook here and c5, there's nothing because the bishop is defended and nothing's sneaking in and nothing's hitting this pawn and nothing can take here, but everything's defended. And so I don't know if he just missed that bishop b4 now is really good, whereas before it was really bad. But I got bishop b4 on the board, and so I got my c5. And now I'm just like, okay, well these pawns are way too strong to be stopped. He mentioned it in the analysis after that he was maybe thinking of entombing this bishop, you go rook a1 and I go a5 to defend. And I was just completely stuck now. He just goes back and then gets the knight here. But getting the knight here requires a maneuver that passes by the only passes by squares that I control with the bishop, so I can just get rid of the bishop. Then I just push the pass pawns. There isn't enough material, and else these all pawns are really bad. My rook is staring them down. But yeah, I get c5 in the board, and so knight c2. And once again, here's the knight moving to c4. I can't let it go to c4, definitely. So I just take, not even thinking about it. I just take. If the knight gets to c4, I'm in bad shape. Although even if the knight's here, I can honestly the issue is that the bishop can't move anywhere. Because I would honestly just move the bishop out of the way and then just take the pawns once it's here, and then it's not post anymore really. But I just take it because there's I win a pawn here for guaranteed. Because I can quote fork this pawn and the defense of my pawn. And I just win a pawn. He can go here and I just take, and I win a pawn. And yeah, it's a double pawn, the silver pawn here. But this pawn is only 3 squares from queening, and it has help from the rook and maybe even the e-pawn. And so I thought here, I can't lose this. I can, this is win or draw now. There's hardly any way I could lose this. Because if his rook goes to, win the other pawns, I just push and take this and march the king. And he gets, tied up. His piece is tied up defending the pawn. And even if everything trades down, I probably just either have the outside pass pawn still, and I can use that as a decoy to win these pawns with my king. Or I just, lock up you get my king in the center, and you can threaten to go both ways. And that's how I'd win. So I didn't really think I could lose this game anymore. After he gave this pawn up. So he comes back to defend the pawn. And so I just start marching the king. And he said he went f3. He played f3 and then told me after that it was stupid. And that what he wanted to do was prepare a way to stop me from getting to e5. But if you push f4 immediately, I can take the pawn. If you go f4, I just take the pawn. And then just go back. And yeah, I can't go to e5, but I can walk around, he can't cross this line because of the rook, and so I can just walk. So yeah, that's kind of bad. But I just marched the king, and my king is already too active. The pawn cuts off this square, and the rook cuts off the rest of them. And so I can actually just push d3 and clear the way for my king to get to d4, and the king is completely shielded out of the game now. He cannot get to any square to attack the pawn. I'm covering all of them. And the rook covers the last one. And the rook also can't get to any square. If the rook leaves this square, I'll take the pawn with check. So now I thought, okay, he's in Zugzwang, basically. I can just blockade the rest of his play, and eventually he's forced to yield this square, and I win the game. But it actually makes it a little easier for me. G4, G5, G3, and I just start marking the E pawn, and I actually just don't even take this. I just skip right by the E4, threatening a fork. He runs the king back. I threaten the rook. He runs the rook back. I take the pawn finally. He takes, trying to run for a queen. He has tripled pawns now, but I get rook h2 on the board, threatening mate in one. So he has to run, and I can fork the queen with check and block his pawns. And it's just, I mean, mate is imminent here. He has two legal moves. He plays king h3, giving me a nice mate in one in the corner, with the pawn covering the last square, boxed in by some pawns. But I mean, had he gone like king g2, yeah, you can play. You can play quickly. Play falls apart very fast after like anything. You can't get here. The fastest way to win is probably a second queen. Like that. But yeah, I mean, you just gave me the mate in one. Very good sport about it. But I was really pleased with this game. So I did not think I was ever in significant trouble where I was like losing. I think I was always either even or better this game, and that's like what I really want. Especially with the black pieces, I was very pleased with that. Maybe there's some like marginal like plus 0.2 or something, but I didn't think I was ever like losing this game, and that's really good because I've been stressing a lot about the Bradley Open, the tournament in Connecticut that I'm playing in this weekend. Because that's 5 games and it's high stakes and stuff, and so I've been stressing a lot. And just getting like, a good game on the board, no big mistakes. I was really happy with, and yeah, so that's this game basically. um, yeah, that's about it. I don't really have much else to say. There are definitely some moments I was thinking about, and some other lines I was concerned about. But I thought after Queen takes b3, this is much better for me. I just don't really see a way, but you can't. I just don't think you can win this pawn. I think the only way for it to get play is to win the pawn, and I don't think there's a way to do that after c5. I don't really see like a way around. Maybe like king h2 or king here, and I don't know. I didn't see a way that's faster than me walking my king and eating everything. But I mean, identity 2 is also pretty bad. We made the pawn completely. But even then, I don't know how to develop the knight otherwise. Like every case, like if like knight e1, trying to get here, I probably also just take it, and I push. Takes, and I go here first to defend this. Because now you actually can't defend the b pawn either. I didn't think there's a good way forward after queen takes b3, after queen b3. But I thought this was also very self-explanatory. But yeah, I mean, good game from him. It was a tough game, but I mean, I'm really pleased with the endgame here. I thought I played the endgame very well. The Silman endgame book. I when I played D5, I was just thinking about the chapter called the Deep Freeze, and it's the subtitle is just when one pawn holds two. And that's exactly what this is talking about. This is like a deep freeze where you can't move either pawn. Obviously, it doesn't work because there's another pawn here. But this kind of structure is exactly what he was talking about in the book, which I thought was funny. That I was like, I'm getting my book stuff on the board, which means that it's working. The book stuff is working. I'm happy that I'm seeing measured improvement from the book stuff. So yeah, looking forward to this weekend, the Bradley Open. is going to be very exciting, very high stakes. But it'd be good to be home for a weekend, even if no one's there. It'd be good to be playing some high quality games this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. Until then, I will see ya later.